I'm just taking some shelter from the rain in the mouth of this wonderful cave, and this scene, this beautiful shot potentially has revealed itself. Now the problem for a photographer is there's lots of light and there's a lot of dark. How can I best capture all of these different types of light on my phone? First thing I'm going to do is just wave my phone up there and see what we get. This is the default mode of my phone, if you like. HDR, high dynamic range, is turned on. We're on the 1x zoom lens, and just looking up at the sky, I'm seeing a really pleasing shot. The light from outside is pouring into this cave and putting some beautiful highlights on the crags of the rock here. If anything, on the outside, because we have a lot of light and a lot of dark, I'm losing a bit of the detail from the tree and from the sky there. But HDR will do its best, where it will take multiple exposures of the light and the dark to try and get a picture that has as much of both in there as possible, and hopefully provide something that gives us the best of both worlds, both the best of the light and the best of the dark. Let's give it a go. I rather like how the rock, the mouth of that cave, is coming down at an angle across the screen there. All right, now what I'm going to do is to take off high dynamic range. And as far as my viewfinder is concerned, it looks exactly the same, because my viewfinder isn't able to take multiple exposures and show those to me. So really that processing is done after you've clicked the shutter button. So I don't see all that much difference here. Again, with the same framing, let's just take a few shots and we'll see in a moment what difference that has made. And then my final option is with manual exposure. This is where I am going to see the image that essentially I think I want. So what I'm going to do is just choose somewhere on the screen, tap and hold. There we go. So that little padlock there means that my focus is locked, and on the left you can see there's a little sun, and that there, just sliding that up and down, lets me control the exposure. Now just going to tap hold, can be a little bit fiddly, tap hold and then just drag down a little bit, because by default it was a little bit on the light side. So just by pulling down I can actually create a little bit more drama. I can still see enough of the rock there, but I can now, by pulling the exposure down, I'm able to see more detail in the trees behind. Let's just take a few exposures of that. Again, let's just try tapping and holding somewhere else in the middle there, and just, you see, that's really, really light by default. If I just drag the exposure slider down a little bit, there we go. Trusting my eye rather than trusting what the phone thinks is the right thing. All right, so 3 different options there, with HDR, without HDR, and also with manual exposure. Let's see how they came out. This is the image with HDR mode turned on, and you can see immediately what it's tried to do there. The darker patches of the inside of the cave have had their exposure lifted so that I can see more detail, which is kind of good. And similarly with the trees as well, the lighter areas, I can see some of the details that maybe I couldn't see otherwise. But the problem with this image is that by lifting everything to the same sort of level of light, I lose some of the contrast, and therefore I lose some of the separation between the inside of the cave and the outside with the trees and the sky. It all becomes kind of one homogeneous level, which in a way is the opposite of what I'd hoped for with an HDR shot. And it means that I lose some of the drama that I feel by standing in this cave peering out. This is what the image looks like with HDR mode turned off, but the camera's auto exposure turned on. And yes, I do get some more darks here in the corners, particularly the top right and the top left, but somehow I'm still not getting the separation. I'm not getting the contrast, and the trees still feel as though they're very close, part of the same structure, if you like, as the mouth of the cave, which is a bit of a shame. Like I say, it's not an unpleasing image, but it doesn't quite reflect what it's like to be standing here looking at this in real life. Here we go. This image is with me manually controlling the exposure and bringing the exposure down just a little bit. And you can tell straight away what's happened. The corners of the cave are now dark, a little bit foreboding. Yes, I have lost some of the detail that HDR and auto exposure tried to recover for me, but actually what they lose is the sense of drama, this sense of danger, and this sense of contrast, because now the dark of the cave is contrasted brilliantly by the brightness of the sky here. There's a separation between the rock and the tree somewhere behind, and it makes it a much more dynamic, interesting, dangerous image for me. And that's what you can get by trusting your own eye and not always trusting the auto exposure and HDR modes of a smartphone camera.